Today we're trying a brand of paint that, while it's not new, it's new to me. We're talking about Michael Harding. Michael Harding watercolors were definitely a brand that interested me, and I wanted to give them a try. I've seen them all over YouTube, of course, and I decided it was another brand I wanted to test out and see what I thought. And I have some thoughts. So we're going to dive right into these. This is yet another line that has honey in them. So they're bound with honey and gum arabic and nothing else. So they don't contain any oxgall, synthetic oxgall, or the like. They claim that they have excellent rewetting capabilities when allowed to dry in pans, and they can be reused or stored in empty pans for travel or plein air. So can they be put into pans? I have a medium palette over here. I poured these some time ago, so we're going to take a look at that, see how they dried down. Would I be confident enough to put these into half pans and travel with them, say to go out plein air painting? We're going to talk about that in just a bit. There are currently 136 colors in the Michael Harding range. 94 of those colors have an excellent light fast rating. So if you're looking for a paint that is going to be light fast, this definitely offers plenty of colors to choose from. I don't know that we need 94 colors that are light fast in our palette, but you know, if you do, you do. No judgment here. Let's get right into this. So here are the paints that I chose. So today we're going to try these for the first time, see what the colors are that I chose. I will be getting a look at these. We're going to swatch them out and we're going to see how they mix as well. This is my bee inspired paper. So I'm going to swatch them on the bee inspired, which is a cellulose. How vibrant are these? They claim that they are going to be very vibrant paints. So when I compare them to, say, my Core and my Daniel Smith, how do these compare? We're also going to talk about, will I add more colors in the Michael Harding line? Do I have plans for that in the future? And we're also going to talk about the cost. When I look at the price for these here in the US, these rate right there with Schmincke for cost. So if Schmincke, when I've shared those with you in the past, have given you a sticker shock, Michael Harding might as well. For a 15 ml tube, they are pretty equivalent to the same cost-wise as Schmincke. So that does make them a bit more expensive here in the US. They're definitely, these and Schmincke are the two most expensive paints that I have in watercolor, with the exception of one paint that I just recently purchased. But stay tuned. That's actually from a US brand, and that is going to be coming. I don't know at what point as far as when you see this versus that, but just know it's exciting and yeah, we'll talk about that in a different video. Anyhow, Michael Harding paints. I did put them into this ceramic palette. This is one of my Meeden palettes. And this one has it's the 9 well. I will link to everything in the description below. So the 5 colors that I chose, I put in here. These definitely dried down hard. When I touch them, none of these colors feel sticky anymore. And they don't feel soft either. They dried. Yeah, I can dent it with my fingernail if I press on them. So they're not like rock hard. I don't know if that shows up on any of those. Anyways, they're not rock hard, but they dried down pretty hard. Let me know in the comments in your area. What area are you from? And do these dry down this hard? I've shared with you guys so much that everything dries so fast in my studio. And in fact, I'm going to have to replace my paint water because that's dried down. It's been there for a week and I've lost probably an inch out of my paint water. So I need to add to that in a moment. But yeah, these dried down very firm. So in my area, I would not be afraid to put these into pans and take them with me, you know, in comparison to like the Mission Gold or the M. Graham or any of your other paints that have honey in them. I know that they can travel. They're slow movers in the palette, but they can travel, which means they could actually leave their wells and make a big old mess. I don't know. The way that these dried here in the studio, and again, it's been, you know, winter going into spring when I poured these and had them dry down. They've been left open like this in the studio. Now, I know when I contacted M. Graham, they told me to put it in an open palette like this and just leave it open in the studio. And of course, I don't have to worry about little studio assistants that like to leave their glitter behind, or pet hair for those of you who are not familiar. And I don't have to worry about that getting into my paints. But even with this, I don't think it would stick the way that these are dried now. So if I would have just laid something over like a paper towel, the air could have cycled through as they dried down, but it would have kept things out of them. I mean, I don't see any issues with that. I would definitely put these in half pans, and at least in my area here in Maine, I would not be afraid to take these out and go plein air painting if this was in a palette. I wouldn't be worried about them, you know, moving all over the place. So that said, again, drop me a comment and let me know where you are. Have you used the Michael Harding paints, and do they dry down that hard? I mean, those are, that's the porcelain, you know, without paint, and that's it with the paint. They've dried down pretty, they're hard. They're hard. So we're going to see how these re-wet today. And today is a little different. You might be seeing me actually chatting with you over here in the comments. That's because I'm actually out of the studio. And I didn't want to miss our time together, so I went ahead and recorded this ahead of time. And we are in a premiere. So if you see me over there in the comments, it's just like our live stream, only instead of me being able to pop your stuff up on the screen as you ask it and answer those questions live by talking to you, I'm just going to be doing it in the live chat. So if you're watching this on the replay, that live chat should still be available to you if you want to bring that up and watch and follow along. So that's fine. You can certainly do that. And either way, whether you're here with me live or watching on the replay, thank you so much for joining me today. I greatly appreciate it. So that means we're going to have some extra magic that we can do during today, because I can pause my recording, put down my chart, put down all my color information, and you don't have to wait through that and watch that as it's happening. But we're also going to do some stuff that's a little different today. I have put out a poll here on YouTube, and I also put it out to my members and patrons over on Discord, asking what kind of information when it comes to pigments are you actually looking for, so that I can provide you with as much as possible. And today, with the help of Blick's website, and I want to make sure I share this with you, because if you're not sure of this as a resource for you, Blick can be such a wonderful resource when you are looking into any paint that they sell by any paint manufacturer, and you want to know information on your pigment. And I will see if I can't show you that in just a moment. One of the things that I am going to do is use my waffle flower stamp. So this is the one that I got. I will link a few of these in the description below for you. This is the one that I have. And I use that as I'm starting to catalog my collection of watercolors. I've created my stamp, and it looks like this. And I just ink that up. And then I take one of these cards. Now I've cut this from the Bee Inspired paper. And the way that I do it It is hard to see that on there. I need to move this for a moment just so that you can see what it is I'm doing. I take these 2x3 cards and I get my stamp inked. I just leave this one on this acrylic block now because I tend to use this often, and I just set that on there. I like that you can see it has the lines. You can line everything up and see it beforehand. Press that down. And that has all the information that I'm going to want to record as I do my color swatches. So through the magic of editing that I don't usually get when I'm live streaming, I'm going to go ahead and finish making up the ones that I need for today because I've run out of them. And then we will be right back to swatch. One of the things that I do when I create my swatch, there are these lines here. This is how I use them. So this first line, I will take my Funisuke brush pen from Tombow. This guy right here. This is the hard tip, and I will connect those lines. When I paint, that lets me see the opacity. Between these next two lines, that's where I'll come back and maybe do a glaze of color. And then where these last two lines are, that is where I will try to lift out and see how the color lifts. So I can have all of that information on the one card. All right, let me get the other paper back and we will start looking at these colors. Okay, so through the magic of YouTube and the software that I use that allows me to pause, do things, and come back, I have all the stuff marked out here. Everything is on my sheets, and I noticed there's a discrepancy in one of these colors between what they put on their tubes and what they put on their website. I'm going to show that to you in just a few moments, so stick with me. All right, first off, I'm just going to give these a little wake up. Do they need a spritz? I don't know, maybe not. If you want to see how easy they wake up, let's do that. Let's see how easy they wake up first. We're going to start with ultramarine. And so these are completely dry right now. So just my damp brush. Oh, they wake up very easily. Look at that ultramarine. So we're going to do a couple things. I'm going to obviously put the color down on my cards here so that I have it. And then I'm going to swatch it much larger for you. And we're going to build out our mixing chart to see what can we actually mix if you chose these same 5 colors. How many colors can we get? And we'll mix a few colors off on the side over here to get a better look at like more greens and things like that. Okay. I don't know why I just put that in my rinse water. I just wanted to get more on my brush, but my brush was feeling a little dry. But look at that. Look at how easily those are reactivating. And we will talk a little bit about this pigment. And I'm going to share with you why I say that Blick is a good resource for you. And I like to, once I get to there, I like to just kind of rinse out, tapping off on my sponge, and then come back and touch that and see to get that more like diluted. I'll just drop a little extra ultramarine in there. This part is wet too. I want to see that granulation. Of course, we're going to see some of that happening over here in our bigger swatch. And I'm going to do a couple things when we swatch those. I want to see, last time I had shown you, we did the new core colors, and I showed you how they look with salt. We didn't really look at them with water. And so I'm going to kind of do both of those in our swatches that we do over here. 3 of these colors that I got are granulating. I'm just going to set this one aside to dry. So 3 of these colors are granulating. Now on the tube, if we take a look at the tubes, so you'll see here, on my swatch card, you might notice that I have a number. This one says W201. That is the number, like if you reordered the color that Michael Harding has assigned to it. So it's W201. It's a Series 2 Ultramarine Blue. This is a 15 ml tube. And if we look on the side, we have, if I turn, so our pigment is listed right there on the front. And then if we turn it on its side and we go below the barcode, that's where we can see Lightfast is excellent. The staining power is low to medium. It is a granulating pigment. I like that they put the granulation on the tube, and it is transparent. So that's what I have marked. If we can refocus, there we go. That's what I have marked down here. It's granulating, it's transparent, it's low staining. I underline all the stars on my stamp, and then I put excellent because that is what they say. Excellent. When I do this for core will say LF1. So I'll put a 1 over here because that's how core rates it. If they just do stars, for example, some companies just do stars, and 3 stars is the highest. So if 3 stars is the highest, I underline the last 3 stars, meaning it's most excellent as far as that company goes. So I have my brand, my pigment, the name. In this case, because there's a color number, I put that on here. I did the same thing with my Mary Blue cards. They had the color number there, so I marked them like that. And you can see here, like I did the glaze, and look at that carbon black. It actually, when I glazed over, it got a little shiny, which was interesting, but I didn't notice it at the time because it hadn't fully dried. But it lifted pretty well. So that's, you see how I do the one that you can see a little better here. Oh, and there we go. There's one. So you can see with the black line, it'll show you how transparent actually is. And then we can glaze the color over, and then we can see lifting, which, yes, very staining color. So we can see that there. And I liked on these, on the My Mary Blue ones, like if it was staining, I just filled it in with the color. I don't know. It was just what I felt like doing that day. You can do them however you want. With the core ones, I just filled it in with the permanent liner that I was using when I filled out the cards. Same as I did here. And of course, like I said, everything will be linked in the description. So let's talk about, as I swatch this one, and I'm going to show you, let me bring up a quick screen share here. Let's see if that will show it. There we go. So now you're seeing the whole page. I don't know why there's a little extra border, but it's fine. See, just like live stream, crazy things happen. I'm looking at only the colors that are excellent. So you'll see there, I have excellent light fastness checked because I wanted to know only those colors which were the most excellent light fast ratings. And let me just scroll through here and you can see this is the full range of Michael Harding that rates an excellent light fast rating. Do any of these colors like inspire you? Are you seeing something that you're like, oh, that is, I want to see that color? I like Prussian Blue that had that. You see that one right there, second one in from the right. Very interesting. Prussian Blue had an excellent rating. Look at that Caribbean turquoise, the second in on the bottom from the right there. That is a beautiful color. There are quite a few colors that spark my interest, but we are certainly going to talk about, will I add more colors? I don't know. I haven't painted with them yet. Unless they like just absolutely blew me away when I painted with them. I don't know that I personally would add more colors for this brand. And the reason that I say that is because of their price. So for me here in the US, these are pricey. Let's look at Ultramarine. So they say PP29, staining power is medium. It is transparent. Yes, it granulates, and its light fastness is excellent. So this is the information. You're seeing it live directly from their website. Let's talk about how Blick switch over here, can be, and there you see, there's your 15 ml tube of ultramarine blue as of the time that this is being recorded and put out. There was a little bit of sticker shock when I first looked at these. I'm not going to lie. I was like, oh my goodness, because when I look at a tube of that in Daniel Smith or a tube in M. Graham, it's a bit less. Okay, it's more than a bit less. We can look at that in a minute, but I want to show you. So if I go to the page where I'm actually seeing the color that I am interested in, if I scroll down here, you're going to notice that you have product details. But aside from product details, over here we have pigment info. And if we click on pigment info, this is going to open this up. So for anybody who's like, are these toxic? Is it safe for me to use them? Maybe you have medical conditions where certain pigments you have to watch out for, certain properties you have to watch out for. This tells you, right? This color contains the following pigment, PB29, known as ultramarine blue. It is inorganic. It tells you under the chemical name, the chemical formula. It tells you its properties. So if you want to know, is it staining? Is it like this talks about the properties. Now, where this can differ from, say, what I just showed you on Michael Harding's site is under pigment info on Blick's site, they're giving you the properties of the pigment. So if you looked at this part under any brand, and I can show you that, you're getting the properties of the pigment, not what the manufacturer says are the properties for their paint. Okay? I hope that was I hope you understood what I was saying there. Let's go to Daniel Smith. All right. Now, I've already told you these guys over here, the sticks, that is definitely the best value for your money if you're going to get Daniel Smith. If the pigment is available in stick form, I definitely recommend the stick form. The paint is the same. And I've shown you how you can activate just a stick on your palette with some water, and you're painting with it just like you would tube paint or half pans. So let's look at, we're going to go look away if scrolling makes you dizzy, because I am going to scroll quickly down to ultramarine. Everything is alphabetized, so it's easy for you to navigate and find something. As long as, you can remember what order your letters come in the alphabet, which sometimes I have a problem with. Oh. So many colors in Daniel Smith. So many colors. Michael Harding has quite a few colors as well. 136 in the range. It's not quite as much as Daniel Smith, but see, I went past it. Okay. So we're just going to go with ultramarine blue. I should have looked up French ultramarine. It would have been a lot faster to get to that one, but I digress. We're here. Okay, so ultramarine blue. Again, if I come down, product details, reviews, oh, pigment info right there. All right, so see, ultramarine blue, inorganic, complex silicate of sodium and aluminum with sulfur. Okay, let's just jump back over here. This information is exactly the same. So what Blick is giving you, see under properties, ultramarine has excellent permanence. Although synthetic, ultramarine is not as permanent as natural ultramarine. For those of you who don't know, natural ultramarine would be lapis lazuli. It may discolor if exposed to acid because of its sulfuric content. Don't pour acid on your paintings, guys. Okay. Properties. Permanence. Wait a minute. Go back. Properties. Standard warm blue, brilliant blue pigment. Go back to Michael Harding. Standard warm blue, brilliant blue pigment. You see? Ultramarine has an excellent permanence, although synthetic. Same exact thing. So Blick is giving you the properties of the pigment that your paint is made of. Now, this can vary. If you look at, for example, PV23, which is like dioxazine purple, that can actually has been proven in independent tests to be slightly fugitive in most brands. However, Daniel Smith is one that it's not. You will get a Lightfast rating of 1 from Daniel Smith, and independent tests have backed that up. So where they're giving you the actual, like, the properties here of the pigment, we're seeing properties of PB29 ultramarine blue. It's very good information because if you have, say, an allergy and maybe you can't use cobalts, or you can't use cadmiums, or you don't want to use cobalts or cadmiums, this is going to tell you all of the properties of the pigment that is in your paint. Now you can refer to your manufacturer's website, which is what we did over here, for what they say. So they're saying their ultramarine blue is medium staining power, which if I go over here and I look at Michael Harding, same color, and we look at its properties, it should say, I was looking for staining. It doesn't say that it is staining. And normally it will tell you that. And normally ultramarine blue isn't necessarily a staining color. Yet Michael Harding says staining power is medium. It is a transparent pigment. It does granulate. Excellent Lightfast. Down here is some of the things that they have done where they've sampled it on, this is Fabriano cold press, hot press. So you can see some of that information on Arches cold press and Arches hot press, and how maybe they've reacted. The only one where it even looks slightly staining is on this Fabriano hot press. Maybe slightly on the Arches hot press over here, but I don't know, not so much. But on cold press paper, it doesn't look like it's staining at all on either the Fabriano or the Arches. So there's that. Okay. So there's our information. So when I'm giving you, like, say, the history of the pigment, like, here's the history for ultramarine blue, I'm telling you information that I've gotten from Blick as a resource. Okay, so just so that you know where this is, like, when I just start spouting off something, that's because I've looked it up and this is where I've gotten my information. Or I've gone to something like Handprint, or, oh my gosh, there's another one. There's a couple where you can get, like, all the information on your pigments. So, but handprint.com is one of them. Let's look at, I'm going to turn the screen share off for a moment, but we are going to look at this, that a couple more times before we're done, because I think there's some information that you guys need to know. Okay, so for ultramarine blue, let's go ahead and put down a wet wash here. Wet our paper. And I'm going to give these a little spritz. You saw how they reactivated. I'm just going to give them a little, just a little spritz, kind of wake some of it up. All right, so our ultramarine blue. It doesn't have oxgall in it. They're not moving very quickly. Without it having that oxgall, like with Core, the synthetic oxgall, they're aquazol, right? Yeah, pretty sure. As I said it, I was like, oh, wait a minute, is that correct? I mean, it's traveling a little bit, but this is slow moving. That is not taking off. Ultramarine blue isn't necessarily one that does take off, though. So I will give it that. Okay, so there's our ultramarine blue. We're going to see how that granulates. I'm already starting to see some happening. And the other thing that I wanted to do as we do them, oh, actually, while I do this, so I did mine in a grid of 6. We are going to, this box will not be used. Somebody has asked before, how do you do these? So basically, I just gridded out 1-inch squares. I have 5 colors, therefore I want 6 squares by 6 squares. What does that allow me to do? It allows me to put my color in a box over here. All right, so for me, and you can do however it makes sense in your mind, you can either put your colors, whichever one is in the row is the color you use most of in your mixes, or the color that's in your column. I usually do whatever's in my row. So whichever one is in my row, I put more of, and I add whatever is in my column. So you can even remind yourself of that by doing, you see how I'm doing a lighter wash here in the columns? So I have less ultramarine, more of ultramarine. So you see what I'm saying? And if not, you will. So as we work this in with each color, when we mix them, so they're going to go in a column, in a row, and in a column. And where they intersect, it will always be the color. So you're always going to have your color on the diagonal. And how about if we do our salt test in our chart? So we'll do the salt over here. And we'll do the water over here. So I have my salt, just regular table salt. And right, I just need a few granules of salt, and we're going to just pop that right on there. There we go. And then up here, this one, I want to do, that was a big spot of water. I didn't want to do a big spot. I just wanted to do like a little drop. Let me just, there we go. A couple flicks of water. We're going to see how water reacts, and it definitely is reacting with this. We'll still be able to see the granulation because I'm seeing plenty of it there. So water dropped in versus salt dropped in. Okay. That's how we're going to do it. Then we can kind of keep them separate while also seeing how they mix, because everything down the diagonal will be the color, because they're going to go here and here. So that will be the color. Okay. So that gives us a good place to kind of do our salt test. All right. Next up, we have our Hansa Yellow Medium. So Hansa Yellow Medium is PY 97. Make sure I've got my brush nice and clean here. We don't want to make green. So Hansa Yellow Medium. Michael Harding's color number is W321. Let's look at our mass tone. I tried to pick, because I was only doing one blue, one yellow, one red. I tried to get like a yellow and a red that I thought might end up looking like neutral yellows and reds versus a warmer or a cooler. Did I accomplish that? I don't know. I went with ultramarine because I love ultramarine. And so I know that that's a warmer blue, but I just went with it because I was only doing 3 colors instead of split primary. With the cost of this one, I just wanted to start with the 3 colors. It was a lot more friendly to my wallet to just start with the 3 colors plus burnt sienna, of course, because I want to be able to mix. And you guys know I can get a beautiful mix for gray if I use ultramarine. Look at that when it's lighter. When I use ultramarine and burnt sienna together. So I did that. And then the other color I added was the Potter's Pink. And the reason I chose that is because 1, I absolutely love Potter's Pink. And 2, I wanted to see how it dried down and re-wet in comparison to some others. Because Potter's Pink tends to be one that takes a little while to wake up. And I have given it just a light spritz. It's going to be the last one we go to. So we're going to see with just that light spritz how this one responds. So it is not granulating. And let's look at, again, I'm going to look at what Michael Harding says. So we'll bring that up for you. And so that you don't have to go see everything bouncing around. We are looking at Hansa Yellow Medium, which comes just before Cad Yellow on their chart. So here is Hansa Yellow Medium. Okay, let's scroll that up for you there. Okay, so PY 97, low staining, semi-transparent, not granulating, excellent light fast. Let's come over here and we're going to go back and we're going to look at Hansa Yellow Yeah, we're in Michael Harding. Okay, I want to make sure I wasn't in Daniel Smith. Oh, actually, one other thing that, because I said it to you. Do we see the difference? That's a big difference for a 15 ml tube from Daniel Smith to Michael Harding. These, of course, are US prices because I am in the US. So, yeah, it is definitely way more cost effective for me to go with Daniel Smith. And I do love my Daniel Smith paints. So, there's that. As far as ones with honey, I'm pretty sure that even, and I can pull it up after, hopefully I will remember, and we'll look at the comparison between Michael Harding and, say, M. Graham. Both contain honey. So if you are a person who wants a paint that has honey in it so that they don't dry down as hard, we'll compare those as well. So let's check out Hansa Yellow Medium. Right there. Okay, and if I check my pigment info for PY97, that is permanent yellow. Okay, PY97, also known as permanent yellow. And permanent yellow ranges from reddish yellow to greenish yellow with temperature shifts from cool to warm hues. It has a good tinting strength, average to slow drying time, similar in shade to Hansa Yellow 1, and it offers much better fastness properties and good heat stability. They say it is an excellent light fast, particularly in darker shades. Okay, so are no significant hazards to PY97. And they were first made in Germany just before World War I, the Hansa Yellows, from a series of synthetic dye stuffs called pigment yellow. Right, so they were intended to be a synthetic replacement for cadmium yellow. And like I said, it came just before cadmium yellow on their color chart. So this is Hansa Yellow Medium. And I'm just going to go ahead and leave that on the screen if you want to see it. And once again, I am going to wet this space underneath here. See, again, it's not like bursting and taking off. And I believe that that is because it does not contain oxgall. It is just pigment, honey, and gum arabic. All right. So that's going to go down here. And up here. So again, up there, just using whatever's left on my brush. So if that's a little bit lighter, that's fine, because it's just a reminder to myself that whatever color is in the column is the one that I have added to. The more prominent color is the one in the row. And again, I went ahead and rinsed my brush out before I put this in. So we are going to place our pigment, and then we're going to drop in our salt. And look at the effects that we had with the ultramarine. Okay, I'll rinse my brush out. Put that salt right in that square. And let's get, I was trying to see, I was like, did the water touch? I know it touched there. Oh yeah, I'm seeing it actually starting to do things now. First I couldn't see it. Our next color is Pyrrole Crimson. I'm going to go ahead and pop that off again. And let's look at Pyrrole Crimson is PR264. The number for Michael Harding is W236 as far as the color number, but we're pigment red 264. Let's see this one in its mass tone. It's a beautiful red. Wait till I show you on their website, like what this color looks like in the swatch. To me, it looks nothing like this. And that's just me. You can let your eyes decide in a moment. I will show you. There are definitely some staining that will happen with this color. It's a Pyrrole. Look at that. I think that this red and that blue and ultramarine are going to make beautiful purples. I'm not sure how it's going to play with our Hansa yellow medium, but I have hopes that it will be nice and we will get some nice oranges and that these will be some good choices for being able to mix and paint with. I might in the future consider creating a like a split primary palette. It's something I might consider if I added more colors, just to have more variety in mixing with what I already have. But in that case, I would only need to add 3 more colors. And I would probably get a cooler yellow and a warmer red than what I'm seeing here thus far. So let's go ahead and, oh, I want to keep my timing similar. So we're going to look at the color first. So let's pop this back on. I've already navigated to the proper place. So when we look at Michael Harding's website, Pyrrole Crimson is right. It's right here. This is Pyrrole Crimson. So you see where that kind of falls in the range. It's where the reds start to get warmer. Definitely. This rose, maybe that might have been a more neutral. And they do have Pyrrole Red. And then they have Pyrrole Crimson. But you see how dark, like how that one looks? And then you see how our swatch looks. Let me bring that over so it's like kind of underneath. And I'm going to scroll to bring this right to the bottom. So I can kind of put those there, right next to each other. So the one that's right here, that is Pyrrole Crimson. But you see, that looks so different when it's actually swatched out. It's much more red versus what I'm seeing on their color chart, which looks a bit more maroon, if you will. It is PR 264. The staining power is medium. It is semi-transparent, no granulation, excellent light fastness. If we look at it on Blick and check out its pigment information for PY 264, Pyrrole Rubine is the actual pigment name. It is organic, and you're not even getting it. It's an aminoanthraquinone. Aminoanthraquinone. Say that 3 times fast. So this bluish red right there tells us, right, this is a cooler red. This bluish red transparent pigment has high tinting strength. I'm skipping some of that. Pyrrole pigments are noteworthy for their light stability, excellent weatherability, and outstanding heat stability. This has excellent permanence and light fastness for an organic pigment in its color range. So this is an organic pigment. As far as toxicity, Pyrrole pigments are considered to be non-toxic. So you're safe with your Pyrroles. Let's see. So the Pyrrole group of synthetic organic pigments was developed in the 80s. Pyrrole Rubine was first manufactured by Ciba Ciba Specialty Chemicals under the trade name Irgazine Ruby. So although not a perfect match for alizarin crimson, words are hard today, my friends. Pyrrole Rubine is one of several new pigments that has helped to close a traditional gap in the gamut of artist pigments and the lack of light, fast, and transparent colors in the red, blue, red, violet parts of the spectrum. So there you go. As far as the pigment information for all of you who have asked, like, give me more information. That's what you need to know about PR 264. So now let's go ahead and take a peek. I'm going to take this off the screen again. And we're going to look at Pyrrole Crimson here. I was like grabbing, I'm like, wait a minute, that's burnt sienna. We've already done the card. We just need to do the big swatch and get it into our chart. Okay, so again, a wet wash. I just think this is a beautiful red. I definitely like this pigment. Our water certainly bullied our yellow around. And it comes down here. I'll give you a more close-up look at that yellow. I probably, by the time I do these, could come back and put my glaze on my cards, because that will just take a second while I actually have the red on my brush. And we want to do this one, which we will have less. I'm really excited to see how these mix. I hope you're enjoying this look at the Michael Hardin colors that I have picked. If you are, please do take a second and hit that like button. It definitely helps. I think sometimes as viewers, we get like kind of tied up in what we're watching and we forget about that button. But it definitely helps. It is one of the best free ways you can help support the channels that you like here on YouTube, just by simply hitting that button or clicking subscribe. That is something else that it seems like has slowed. I know myself, I'm guilty myself with channels that I like to follow. I'm like, oh, it shows up in my feed, I don't need to subscribe. But I've actually missed some things that I wish I hadn't because I wasn't subscribed. So yeah, seems like subscribing has slowed. Let me go ahead and just glaze back on top of this. And I'll do the ultramarine and the yellow as well as soon as I'm done with the salt on these and the water. Yeah, it seems that people don't subscribe as much or as often as they used to on YouTube. I think that dried so quickly that that salt isn't going to do anything. I need a wetter wash of that. Let's... will this mess it up? I don't know, but I know that this is going to need more. It needs wetness. The salt has to have something to be able to absorb. And that was dried out. It dried super fast. There we go. We've got some more salt in there. Now, as for the water spatters, that, of course, I wet this paper ahead of time. There's plenty of spots in there. I'm seeing it start to happen. I wet this first. See, I didn't wet this first. So the paper was absorbing that water right out of the pigment. So it was hard to get that. Maybe I should have wet these squares where I was going to do the salt, but it's too late now. This is what we've got. Before I go further, I'm just going to real quick put my glaze on top here. Set that aside. And I'm going to do the same for my ultramarine. And if you have questions, drop them in the chat. Like I said, I'm over there hanging out with you guys. And if you're watching on the replay and you have a question, by all means, drop a comment. That is another thing that you can do. Comment, interact with those videos that you like on YouTube. That also helps. Okay, so that set aside, we are all caught up. Moving right along to burnt sienna. Now, here's the one I told you there was a little controversy. All right, burnt sienna is our controversial little cousin over here. So burnt sienna. Let's look at the tube. We're PR 101, so it's a pigment red 101 burnt sienna versus a PBR 7. So W125, that is its color number, which I've marked here on the card. Let's look at the side of the tube. Ready? So this says light fastness. Very good. Hopefully that will focus. There we go. Okay, light fastness, very good. Camera's having a hard time with that. Staining, low to medium. Granulation, yes. And it is transparent. Okay. Let's see what Michael Harding says on the website. PR 101. Staining power, high. Staining power, low to medium. Transparent. Okay, the tube and the website agree on that. It is transparent. Granulating, yes. Granulating, yes. But let's look at this one. That's what I find also important. I do think this is a misprint because PR 101 across the board is usually always excellent light fast. You see what that says? It does not say excellent. Light fastness, very good. So there's definitely some discrepancy there. Because when it is excellent, like right here on our PB29, excellent. It says excellent. The website says it's excellent, and it is, the staining power is high. The tube says it is low, and the light fastness is very good, not excellent. So like the equivalent of a light fast 2. I disagree that it's that. I would assume, like PR 101, that this should be excellent. The website says it's excellent, and I just have to wonder why the tube doesn't. Why the discrepancy there? I'm not sure. But I wanted to point that out because if you get your tube in and you look at that, everything else says excellent. Let's take a peek over here on Blick. So there's our tube on Blick, one of your most cost-effective Michael Harding paints. Brain just stopped working there. Right? Red iron oxide, PR 101, red iron oxide. I love PR 101. It is fascinating. And remember, this is telling you the properties, the things about the pigment. This is about the pigment, not the paint. And so PR 101 is red iron oxide. This is a synthetic. So pigment type, it's an earth pigment, but this is a synthetic. PR 102 is the organic. Okay, so for those of you who are like, what's the difference? PR 101, synthetic, PR 102, organic. Same thing goes with like a PBR 6 and PBR 7. One is synthetic, one is organic. There are a few that are like that. So the permanence, red iron oxide, is very light fast with excellent permanence. That's what I would expect it to say. Why the tube says very good, I have no idea. Let me know if, and I'll have to check like Kim Crick's site and see if she has done this color and see like an independent light fast test. Did it come up, Michael Harding come up slightly different? Did it lose some of it? Is it only very good? But why would the website say one thing and the tube say the other? I don't know. So when we talk about PR 101, red iron oxide varies in its hue and transparency depending on hydration and slight impurities. This I thought was some really interesting stuff here. Indian red is a slightly duller, deep brick hue with a bluish undertone. It's very dense and opaque with excellent tinting strength and covering power. It's dependable when mixing with all other permanent pigments and yields good flesh tints when mixed with zinc white. So for those of you who like to do portraits, maybe try some zinc white in your burnt sienna and see what you get. See if you like that. It is the synthetic version of PR 102, which is what I had just told you guys, which is a pigment made from earth reds or natural red iron oxides. And the names applied to PR 101 and 102 often overlap. So you could very easily see a burnt sienna PR 102 and a burnt sienna PR 101. And as we all know, you could also see a burnt sienna PBR 7. The synthetic red iron oxides have mostly replaced the natural red iron oxides and are brighter, stronger, finer, and more permanent. Indian red is the highest grade bluish shade. Light red, English red, and Venetian red are yellowish shades. Mars violet is a dull and subdued bluish or purplish oxide. And all of those would be PR 101. Our burnt sienna, we're going to see here in a moment, is is a warm version of PR101. So permanent iron oxide, very light, fast, excellent permanence. Toxicity. Red iron oxide has no significant hazards. And as far as the history, it comes from the mineral ore hematite called bloodstone by the ancient Greeks. It's one of the oldest pigments, and it's been used by every major civilization, and it was an important mineral for medieval alchemists. So fun facts there. It was not widely used in artist materials until the 17th century and was not produced in large quantities until the 18th. So there you go. There is your information on PR 101. So I hope that you guys are enjoying this today as far as getting some more of that about your pigments and what they are. Okay, so here we go with our burnt sienna. This is so pretty. All right, let's look at that mass tone, which can be it's beautiful. I'm like looking at this version of burnt sienna. I kind of want to swatch that right next to one of my PO48. If you guys saw my mix this week, I was talking about how you could replace PO48 once you can't get it anymore. And trust me, I have looked. It is running out as far as tubes that are still available from certain manufacturers. I couldn't get it in Core. I couldn't find it in Winsor Newton. I don't know if Winsor Newton had it, but it was just ones that I happened to look at to see could I get it. Just because I do enjoy that one so much that I would like to still be able to use it for years to come. And a tube will last me a long time. I still have some. I have a backup tube of my Daniel Smith. So I have like a tube and a partial. And now that I've shown you how you can mix an alternative, I'm not even worried about if I use it when I'm painting, because I can just tell you guys, how you can go about mixing something that looks similar. And I'm sure we will find another, perhaps single pigment that looks like it. And looking at this version of Michael Harding, this version of PR 101, I would really like to compare those. I have the swatches right here. Let's take just a real quick peek. It's darker. See, there was my mix. There's PO48, but look at that when it's like kind of diluted. A little more dilute mix. You see why it made me think of PO48? Yeah, that is a really pretty burnt sienna. I like that a lot. All right, let's get a wet wash. This is granulating. Oh, I gotta tell you the information. I don't remember if I did or did not. But according to Michael Harding's website, yes, we talked about this because there's a discrepancy. It is granulating. It is transparent. It has a high staining power or perhaps a low to medium staining power. It's inconclusive because our tube and the website do not line up. So let's go ahead and get a nice wet wash. I'm going to encroach a little into the Potter's Pink because we have plenty of room for Potter's Pink to carry on. So we'll know what they are. All right. And let's grab this gorgeous burnt sienna. And see, that would be another reason that I would absolutely pay the price. If I really, really like the color and the way that pigment is, I would pay it. They claim they have a high pigment load. I would agree. I would definitely agree with that. They are re-wetting wonderfully, in my opinion. The ultramarine looked more granulating when it was wet, and it looks like that has like really calmed down a bit. So if you I would have to do another really wet wash, like a really wet wash to see. But by looking at this swatch, if you prefer an ultramarine blue that doesn't granulate as heavy, maybe this is one that would be for you. I definitely like the color. I will wet the square before we do the salt one this time, just to see. Does it make a difference? I don't know. Oh yeah, I grabbed more, but this is the one we do later. And you don't have to do it later. Again, like I said, it's just kind of a reminder when you're looking at your charts that whichever side you choose, maybe you want your columns to have be the stronger color and your rows to be less. You know, this just kind of reminds me when I first look at this right away, it goes, oh yes, this is my stronger blue with a little bit of this color mixed in. All right, we said we're going to wet this square first. And I am seeing a little bit of action from that salt in the red now. But if we pre-wet this, will that be better? I think I have clean-ish water. I was supposed to change my water before we started. I did not. I happened to have a paint puck well sitting beside me to my right that had some clean water in it. So what I've actually been doing is my meet-in brush, which is from last week, but it's dirty. Guys, we get some nasty water there. And it's quite a lot of it has evaporated. So I'm just grabbing my clean water from my paint puck one. But you saw that water only now because today I was rinsing. My clean water was clean before we started. I dirtied that since we've been talking, and it's gone down. It's gone down about that much in these wells. This water is like from last Thursday when we painted together. So that is something that I definitely love about the meet-in brush wash with a paint puck in it. I have to stress, with a paint puck in it. They did not stay as clean for me until I put the paint pucks in, and then I always use my dirty side and then go to my clean. All right, let's get our, look at that, get our salt in there. I have a feeling when it was wet first, it's definitely going to make more of a difference. And now, that was a nice good spatter. We are going to let that do its thing. So water, salt. Now I can come back and I'm just going to do a glaze of this color on the card. And let that dry. One to go. And we will have seen all of our colors. So this one of my favorites, Potter's Pink. I can't wait to see how this reactivates. And actually, this has dried. So guys, I told you, like you saw me spritz it in the beginning. It's dry. It's already all dried out. So we're going to get to see how well that reactivates from dry when we do this. Because Potter's Pink is one that is definitely gives people trouble in different brands. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's go ahead and see what they have to say about Potter's Pink. Can I just take a moment to point out, look at the reaction with the salt. I definitely should have wet the square, put down the pigment, and then put the salt down. That probably would have given us much more, like, wow. So these three, you know, we might be able to get more effects from the salt. Perhaps I'll grab a scrap piece of paper and give that a try before we're done. But let's just keep moving. Our Potter's Pink. This is absolutely one of my favorite colors. One of my favorite. Okay. Potter's Pink. Let's see. How are we going to reactivate? All right. That is not quite as mass tone. Like I said, Potter's Pink usually take a moment to wake up. They're like me. They're slow moving. They need their coffee to get started. or in their case, water, and some time. All right, let's do that. So our mass tone. I am loving these swatch cards. I'm still trying to decide, do I want to do my collection by brand? Like, I'm going to put these all into sleeves. They're like trading card sleeves. And then I'm going to put them in a binder. And I'm like, do I want to have them by like pigment? So I can just flip my book open and see, say, all my PR 101s right there together. Oh, what a spread that's going to be. Or do I want to do them by brand, by pigment? So I would flip open to Michael Harding and I would see all of the beautiful pigments I have by them or by him. I'm leaning that way because then if I did a video on a specific pigment, like I could just go to my brands and pull them. I don't know. How do you do yours? Do you even catalog your, oh, look at that. Do you even catalog your pigments? Some people don't even do swatch cards. I couldn't imagine. And then others like me are like, ooh, look at all the pretty swatches. Well, I think it helps. It definitely helps me decide what I want to purchase. Look at that. It is a beautiful Potter's Pink. I can't wait to see it. We're going to get that done on a larger swatch. And I am going to use up that space because why not? I want to see just what this is going to do in the granulation that Potter's Pink has. So yes, it is a granulating color. I put this water down. We're going to pause. I did not tell you the information. So we're going to come back to that and I'll re-wet it to make sure it's still nice and wet. But let's just take a quick look at Potter's Pink. Oh, we started on Blick this time. So there is Blick, Michael Harding, Potter's Pink. Let's go to their website. PR233, low staining power, semi-opaque, granulates, excellent light fastness. Okay. Now, when we go to, let's jump back to Blick. Let's look at the pigment information for PR233. So PR233, Chrome Tin Pink Sphene. That is the actual pigment name. It is an inorganic pigment. You have the chemical formula there. I don't go that far. I love information about pigments, but I don't go that far. The properties. So Chrome Tin Pink Sphene comprises a mixture of silicates and metal oxide salts. The opacity of the formulation depends on the proportions of the salts. The tinting strength is low compared with most organic pigments. Normally, organic pigments have a higher tinting strength. So the inorganic metal salts in the pigment are extremely stable. So it is definitely, as far as light fast goes, it is permanent. Let's talk about toxicity. So Chrome Tin Pink Sphene, say that 3 times fast, guys. Chrome Tin Pink Sphene comprises a mixture of silicates and metal oxide salts. Although none are known to be carcinogenic or toxic, fine particles of such material are respiratory and eye irritants. Contact with the dust should be avoided. I'm not creating my own watercolors, so I don't have to worry about the pigment being finely ground or in a dust-like form. I'm not scraping the dried paint up to turn it into, really fine. I'm not like grinding it or anything, so I'm not worried about that. And as far as eye irritants, I'm not going to put my hands in my eyes when I'm painting. And yeah, so I hope that helps for those of you who are interested in toxicity. It seems like it's relatively safe for use. And as far as history goes, the inorganic pigment has been used in enamels and ceramic glazes. Its naturally occurring mineral deposits have been used in ceramics for centuries. Of course, hence the name, right? Potter's Pink. It was an unknown, I think it's unknown to us now, who the potter was that created Potter's Pink. Okay. And then in a moment, I'm going to show you the comparison across the board. And we're going to use ultramarine because I told you that we would look at how they compare as far as price wise, and why I say this isn't one that I'll expand, just because there's so far this looks like just beautiful paint. They are very highly pigmented. Let me take this off the screen for now so you can see the big old swatch of Potter's Pink. They do seem to be highly pigmented like they claim. And I think I would enjoy painting with these. I don't think I would enjoy paying the cost of these. But, you know, we haven't painted anything with them yet, so I don't know. And I've heard a lot of people say they love Potter's Pink for like when people who paint animals, like doing animal ears and noses and such with Potter's Pink. Look at that. I don't know, I'm just going to pull it out lightly so you can see how nice and soft that also gets. But we have a nice wet wash here, so we should be able to see all of the granulation happening. Potter's Pink is beautiful. And our last square down here is going to be Potter's Pink. And I will try to mix quickly. I have the power to be able to pause and go. So as I do some parts going, you know, as we continue forward, I may pause it. I'm not looking to do much editing to the video other than what I do on the fly while we are talking right now, recording. I wanted this to have a little bit more. And this is where we'll get a little bit lighter, maybe. I don't know, there's a lot on my brush. Oh, it's just such a beautiful color. If you don't have Potter's Pink in your collection, I recommend trying one. I don't mind my Daniel Smith Potter's Pink. It is very hard to re-wet. But that said, I find that as long as I put a little bit of water on it before I'm ready to paint with it, it wakes up just fine. It's just slower to wake up, but only slightly slower than what I just experienced with this one. So yeah, I have, gosh, I'm starting to collect some Potter's Pinks. I have Winsor Newton's Potter's Pink, which is a lovely Potter's Pink. I have Daniel Smith's. Now we have Michael Harding. I don't know if I have others. I don't recall. All right, we need the salt. So that was wet first before I putting the salt in it. We will see how that kind of reacts. I really want to see these three with salt in them, so I will probably do that. Look at the granulation. It's so pretty. Oh, we didn't do water. Right? This was pretty wet. I don't know. I might need to let that set. Oh, we'll just dab some water in there. See what happens, if anything. Okay. Let me grab a scrap paper. I'm going to do 3 really wet washes, pop these colors in, throw the salt in, and we're going to move right along. It's not going to take much time at all for you watching. Okay, I just grabbed my pad of bee inspired watercolor paper, which is the same thing we're doing our swatches on. And just going to throw in as quickly as possible. Right, these 3 colors. I already had wet the paper. All right. And now I'm just going to grab my salt, sprinkle some of that on there. We'll see if those react differently. I'm just going to set them aside and kind of let it do its thing, and we'll come back and take a look at those in comparison to what we saw here. All right, let's look at mixing these colors. So my strongest color is going to be yellow with a little bit of blue. So we can do these. We're going to go yellow. And then we just want to add a little bit of blue. So mostly yellow, a little bit of ultramarine. We get this lovely green right here. That is a nice green. Oh, I like that green. That's Hansa yellow, PY97, and ultramarine blue. So now for here, we want more ultramarine blue, less yellow. So all I'm going to do is grab a little bit more of my ultramarine blue and pop it in here. And now we have more ultramarine blue, and there was only a little bit of that yellow left. And let's take a look at this. Look at that green. That is very pretty as well. I'm liking how, I'm really curious to see how the purples and the oranges are going to look. Because so far, I like what I see with the greens as far as the yellow pigment that I picked to mix with my ultramarine. I'm liking those. All right, so let's do that again. We're going to start here. And now that I have those done, I'm just going to clean this out. All right, so we start with our red, so our Pyrrole crimson. All right, that is our strongest pigment. And to our Pyrrole crimson, and we'll get to these, I'm just doing our three primaries at first. So when we get to our Pyrrole crimson, we're going to add just a touch of our ultramarine blue. Maybe just a touch more. We definitely want it to be more red than blue. There we go. Okay. So with just a little bit of ultramarine. Look at that. It's like almost like this really pretty like aubergine type color. What are you guys thinking of that? I like it. Oh, I like that violet. Look at that. Now, if we come up here, we are going to add mostly ultramarine with a little bit of red. So I'm really going to come in and grab ultramarine, bring it in here. Let's see what kind of purple we get. That makes a beautiful purple. Look at that purple. Almost like dioxazine-like. Really pretty. A deep ultramarine purple that would be granulating because our ultramarine is granulating. Although I'm going to show you, I'll show you that in just a moment. You're going to see it in this right away, what I was talking about, because the ultramarine, when it's wet, looks way more heavily granulating than once it's dry, in my opinion. Look at that purple. Ooh, that is just so pretty. So let's look at that ultramarine. You see the granulation going on? It's there, but it's not super prominent. Not like my French ultramarine from Daniel Smith. That is like a lot of granulating. And look at, we're not seeing a ton. They say the burnt sienna is granulating too, and you see a little, but it's not heavy. The Potter's Pink so far is still showing up with the most granulation. But let's look at that purple. You can see the granulation in there, but as it dries, how much of that will go away? Like when I first did the ultramarine blue, it looked a lot heavier, and even there in that swatch, not so much. It's not heavily granulating, in my opinion. You guys let me know what you think. I've seen ultramarines. I have ultramarines that granulate more. Ooh, look at the separation. We're starting to get some separation here of this red and blue. I wonder in a really wet wash if those will pull apart. And of course, there's only one way to find out. Throw down a really wet wash on our test it paper and look at the salt. Look at what's happening with the yellow, the blue, And even this red, definitely wet wash, color into it, and then salt, I would say is the way to go. Okay, let's see. I'm just going to drop these in. We're going to keep them nice and wet. I want to see if the ultramarine will separate like I'm seeing on my palette from that red in a really wet wash. Will they sort of settle? So this is a very, very wet wash of the purple I just mixed up. But how beautiful is that purple? We're going to give that time to do its thing, and we'll come back and check on it. This is what we do, folks. We experiment. We try different things. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. We try lots of new things. I'm going to clean this off. Sometimes we get together on Thursdays and we're painting something. And I don't know what time is going to allow for today. We shouldn't take us too much longer to get through this color chart. So we can do a little mixing with our colors. This is just beautiful. That is like the best salt reaction so far that I'm seeing. Okay, so next up we got red with a little bit of yellow. So once again, our Pyrrole Crimson. I love this red. Look at that. It's absolutely beautiful. And to that, we are going to add a little bit of our Hansa yellow. Right, so we want something that is definitely more of the red than the yellow. And let's see how that looks here. Let's get a look at this. I might not have enough yellow in it, but let me put just a tiny bit more. There we go. I wanted it to at least start to lean orange. I mean, it was, but as that lightens, I really like how that's looking as it kind of, we moved our way down. Now we're going to take more yellow, a little bit of red. Brush, and we will grab more yellow here. I'm really going to grab the yellow. There we go. So definitely yellow is our primary pigment here in this mix. If you enjoy mixes, you should tune into the channel every Monday at 2 p.m. I release a new mix. I'm doing a series right now, Monday Mix, where I show you how to mix some of your favorite convenience colors or just mixes for different pigments in watercolor. They're not all necessarily convenience colors, but if you do have a favorite convenience color that you would like to learn how to mix, somebody just requested Aussie Red Gold. I actually have that in my cart because I don't have Aussie Red Gold by Daniel Smith. It's in my cart. So as soon as I get that in, because I like to have the original pigment to show you, because otherwise, how do you know how close we're coming? So I do try to have that. So yeah, if there's a convenience color that you love or you have seen and you're like, oh, I wish I could just mix it because I don't necessarily want to buy another color. I get that. I'll buy it for you. Or I should say, I'll buy it for me and show you how to mix it. Careful. The English language can be interpreted many ways. Yeah. So look at those oranges. These look very, they're not like electric oranges. You know what I mean? They're not like super bold, but beautiful fall oranges. I really like that. And of course, I like to paint landscape. That's the kind of orange I would want. It's not, looks a little bit more opaque, but neither our Hansa Yellow Medium or our Pyrrole Crimson are opaque. Maybe it's not opaque. It's looking a little bit more muddied. And the reason that is because, like I said before, when we read the description about the Pyrrole, the PR264, it is a more blue leaning red. It's definitely a cooler red versus completely neutral. So it doesn't surprise me that we have more earthy looking oranges. you say muddy, I say earthy. It sounds better. I like it. It goes great with landscape. So yeah, I like it. Look at these colors. So just our three primaries, when we mix them and intermix them with each other to get our secondary colors. Here are some of the greens we can mix. Here's some of like that purple violet. I'm really liking this here. I like these greens. And I would use the heck out of both of those as an orange. So yeah, in my opinion, I like these three colors together as my primaries. I can't wait to see more of what I can mix with them. We will do the gray here. Well, you'll see it here because we're going to mix the blue in the burnt sienna. That's coming up like right now. Let's clean this out of the way. There's not that much paint left here. I could be using a bigger mixing palette. I have them so that I didn't have to clean off any of my colors and I would just be able to keep going. But the one that I will leave, I'm sure when I get to that one, I will probably mix my grays up here because I'm going to keep that. I would use the heck out of the gray. Okay, so now we have burnt sienna. More burnt sienna. So we're going to do these. Actually, I'm going to do, yeah, I'm going to do it up here, maybe. No, I don't know. Indecisive, right? So we have more burnt sienna. And to our burnt sienna, we're going to add a little bit of ultramarine. Here comes the gray. I could have done, yeah, I should have done it up there. Why don't we, I'm going to work backwards because I'm going to want to leave my grays there. So we're going to start with yellow. Burnt sienna and a little bit of yellow. The brain is just not working right today. All right, little bit of yellow. Grab my yellow and come into that. Ooh, very pretty, very pretty. All right, so make sure I do it in the right box. Mostly burnt sienna, a little bit of yellow. There we go. And then we want to have mostly yellow, a little bit of burnt sienna. We're going to fill that one in. So we're going to get a lot more yellow. Bring it in here. Make sure I'm in the yellow. Pull that up. There we go. Okay, I'm going to come up here with the burnt sienna for my blue. Because again, this is going to make my gray. So burnt sienna with a little bit of blue is going to give me that warmer gray. Ready? Let's get into our ultramarine. Right, so a little bit of blue. Actually, with just a little bit of blue, I have this really pretty, deeper, almost like umber color. Let's go ahead and go with it. So mostly ultramarine with a little bit of blue. I almost put it in the wrong spot. See, it's starting to neutralize it and it's getting darker. But look at that brown. I'm going to bring a little bit more blue into that. Just a little. Yeah, there we go. Very umber-like. That's a very nice brown. But when we have more ultramarine, I really want to amp this up. And a little bit of our burnt sienna. Oh, what a lovely gray they make. Just getting all of that out of my brush because I want a little bit more ultramarine blue in there. Not too much more, but just a little. I like a nice cool neutral gray or neutral tint. All right, you ready? This is one of my favorites. Look at that beautiful gray. They just neutralize each other so well. And you know, I might have gone a little extra with the ultramarine, but I'm okay with that. So ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, especially this burnt sienna, from a gorgeous umber to a beautiful neutral tint. Look at that. I like that a lot. So now we have to do this one more time with our red. I'm just going to pull a little bit of this. Oh, it's already drying. I probably could have left it. I'll just leave it. That's enough. Just on the red on this side. So we have red, our Pyrrole crimson, mostly red, little bit of burnt sienna. I don't think I had enough burnt sienna on my brush, but this is going to be really pretty. Let's try that again. I would definitely put a lot more water in these if I was, to be doing a painting and really get these wet and woken up. Like I'm still scrubbing at the color. I don't want to bring too much in. That red is just strong, really strong. I just don't think that the burnt sienna is, I'm sure it has changed. I'm sure it has changed the color of that red. We're just going to go with it because it's definitely not the same as it was looking at this. So red with a little bit of burnt sienna here. It's like a nice brick red. There we go. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. Look at that. We're not seeing a ton of difference, but definitely leaning orange. That is certainly more brick. We could have gone with, I would say, even more. But now let's see when we really amp up the burnt sienna. I'm going to actually just get a bit of water in here. This is just, really need this to wake up. I'm really loading my brush up because I want to bring a lot more burnt sienna over here. And I'm not going to worry about mixing it all in. I think we'll definitely get the gist of it with what I have right here. So more burnt sienna. That's a really pretty deep red. More burnt sienna, a little bit of red right here. See, much darker than that. But that red is definitely, it doesn't take a lot of that red, that is for sure. We did not need as much red as even as what is in here. But it's definitely pretty. All right, so we have our bully. I'm just going to leave that. I will mix my red and my Potter's pink up here. Because, yeah. Tip that. I'm going to tip that and just kind of move it down on the palette. Because I'm sure I would use it again. Just gonna leave that over there. Won't take long for that to start to dry. All right, we are on the last ones. That gives us enough space, I think. So let's look at our Potter's pink. Right, more Potter's pink. And remember, this one's very low as far as tinting strength goes, right? It's not going to take much to alter this, but Potter's pink with a little bit of ultramarine. Just like, wake up. Come on over here. Get as much of that out of my brush as I can. I love Potter's pink. Okay. And to that, we add a touch of ultramarine. Again, I'm doing just the slightest touch of ultramarine because it's not going to take much for it to start changing our Potter's pink into a beautiful pinky purple color. Let's look at that right there. Okay, and then let's look at it when we take Potter's Pink is just added to the ultramarine blue, right? We want ultramarine blue is our dominant color. It's not going to be hard to get that to happen. Look at that. So now ultramarine blue is the dominant color. And this is going to be such a pretty purple. Look at the granulation that's showing up like right away in that. Let me just show you. I had to pause for a second because I wanted to bring something up to show you, but look at already. Look at the separation. We are getting some beautiful separation there. I'm going to take what's left. Are you ready? Oh, there's our last one. There's how it's separated. Let's get another nice wet wash. So that was our red and our blue when we let them separate back out. And we're going to take this. We're going to pop it in here. And for any of you who are thinking, that color looks familiar, I'm going to show you why it might look familiar to you. All right, so nice wet wash with this, right? Really let it get wet. Mix that around. All right, I'm going to let it set, do its thing. Okay, but for those of you, I almost did that right in my clean water. For those of you who are thinking, hey, that looks kind of familiar, let me just kind of move that up here and share with you. Galaxy Violet is made with, well, if I can get it to scroll, there we go, PR 233 and PB 29. Ultramarine blue and Potter's Pink make up your Galaxy Violet. So, yeah. And I'm going to let those two kind of do their thing. We'll look back at that again momentarily and see how they separate out in what they do. Because I'm already seeing separation here in this swatch. It's gorgeous. All right. So I've used that one up. I just wiped that well out. Let's look at our next one. So Potter's Pink with a little bit of yellow. Yet again, I'm going to just get this nice and wet because we're going to need that to wake up. Okay, our Potter's Pink. I'm going to mix a Potter's Pink and red down here because then if all that ends up mixing together, I'm not going to mind. But our Potter's Pink up here. And we're going to start with a little bit of our yellow. And we are going to go with a little bit because I don't think it's going to take much. And it does not. It does not take much to change that. It definitely makes this a much warmer Potter's Pink. And there's like a little bit, tiny bit of separation here. Not as much as like what I'm seeing over there, but it's still gorgeous. I love Potter's Pink. I love to mix Potter's Pink with other colors. It's definitely one that tends to separate out and give you something really interesting to look at. So there is our Potter's Pink with our yellow. And now let's go with more yellow, less Potter's Pink. Really pick up that yellow. Mix that in there. I don't know how I feel about what I see there, but okay. We're still going with it. So here is mostly yellow and with a little bit of Potter's Pink. It's like an ochre-like color. There's definitely more yellow. Let's see how that one dries out. Okay, then we need the Potter's Pink and the red. So again, starting with Potter's Pink. I almost grabbed that red, and I know I do not need much red. That taught us that lesson. I am going to put it over here. So Potter's Pink. Now when I grab my red, I am going to grab just a touch. Because it's strong and it's going to bully this Potter's Pink like crazy. Ooh, that is pretty. Okay, do I say that a lot? I think I do. I think I definitely do when it comes to colors. Especially when I just find it like when we're mixing our colors. Oh, I love mixing and exploring colors. Like, what can you get? And that red is definitely, I mean, look at how much like the red has taken over like this bottom section. Yeah, that red is certainly, it would last you a long time. You do not need a lot of this red. And now we need more red than Potter's Pink. And I'm still not going to get a ton because I think even that is definitely going to be more than enough to do our swatch. Much brighter. It's like a really deep pink now. Oh, I could see that color being perfect for some floral. Oh, yeah, that would be really pretty in some florals. And then we have one left. Our Potter's Pink and our Burnt Sienna. All right, so we're gonna... I don't know why I didn't put more Potter's Pink in here when I first put that out. That's my favorite color of the whole thing. Potter's Pink, I would say, then Ultramarine. But even still, I really like the hue of Michael Harding's Potter's Pink. Definitely. And we want just a touch. I think the Burnt Sienna would be strong as well. Maybe just a touch more. All right, so mostly Potter's Pink with a little bit of Burnt Sienna. It's definitely changed the hue, so I think we're good to go with that. Mostly Potter's Pink, touch of Burnt Sienna. Right, so you can see it right here next door to regular Potter's Pink on its own. Again, it's warmed it up. I've seen other Potter's Pinks that look a little bit more this hue on their own. It's a little more, it's warmer, definitely a warmer version. Looking at that versus here. All right, and then we want more of our Burnt Sienna and a little bit of Potter's Pink. Right there. We're going to go with that. And you see, I probably could have used even more Potter's Pink because look, it's not that far off from the Burnt Sienna right here. Because that's Burnt Sienna and Burnt Sienna. You probably could have had a little bit more Potter's Pink in there. And that's the thing, you have to use a bit of Potter's Pink when you're mixing it because I'm just going to bring a little extra in. And just kind of mix them on. Even still, these should granulate nicely. They're both supposed to be granulating, and the Potter's Pink definitely granulated more than our Burnt Sienna did. It was much finer granulation. And the Ultramarine too. The Michael Harding Ultramarine definitely had a much... I just want to see like in a really wet area. I'm going to take some of this Ultramarine. Okay, that is a super wet wash. So we're going to see, is it that it just needed more water, you know, to show more of that granulation? Because granulation definitely shows up in a wetter wash. I don't know. We'll come back and look at that in just a bit. That shouldn't take long to set up and start to show us. Okay. Look at this separation here with our Potter's Pink and our Hansa Yellow. Look at how they're kind of pulling apart. I always do experiments like this. Like, you should see the sheets I have when I practice stuff for the Monday mixes. I get so much down there because there's so much information that I want. I'm going to just pull up this color and drop that in a super wet wash. I just want to see how that settles out. I want to see if it separates and what we get there, because that would be interesting too. At least it's interesting to me. I hope it's also interesting to all of you. This is the part where we geek out over pigments. All right. What do you think of the colors so far with the colors that I chose? So there's my primary. set plus my burnt sienna. That red's a little bit of a bully. I definitely have learned by doing this that I don't need so much red. But when I did my purples, like beautiful purples with the ultramarine blue. So when we talk greens, let's look at, I thought I had one sitting right here. All right, I'm just going to grab another meet-in palette. I will link to all of these below. This one as well. I think this is more than I will need if I were doing a painting. Because if there were colors I was going to mix, I would have, I think, plenty of wells to mix them up and go from there. But let's look at what we can get for some different greens, right? When we talk about this chart only shows us what we get when we mix two colors together. So here we have some ultramarine blue. Clean that out so I can grab my yellow. And I'm going to grab the Hansa yellow medium. Okay, and I'm going to get some of that over here. Just because I don't want to, I'm putting it like this because I don't want to dirty this palette up. And I know what I'm about to do is about to make a mess. And that's fine. I just don't want to do it on this palette. Okay, so when we talk greens, of course we have our yellow and some of our blue. And when we're like 50-50, we get a green that looks something like this. Now, I can take that and let's go, hey, how about some more yellow? Right? How about some more yellow? And some more yellow. So I can get a bunch of different greens. Maybe I want some more blue. Let's go the other way. Some more blue. More blue. And even more blue. Okay, that's just yellow and blue. But I don't have just yellow and blue on this palette, do I? If I get, let's bring our bully in here. I didn't need that much red on my palette. And I'm also going to grab a little bit of this burnt sienna. Okay. Because I can take, and here we have our yellow and blue. I'm going to keep mixing right there for a moment. Right? So I say, okay, I have yellow, I have blue, right? And here's my kind of mid of the road 50-50 mix for my green. So once again, here's my green. I can change this. We put some of that there. If I grab burnt sienna, now I can get more of like an olive green. I can take that with a touch of my red. Just a touch. Again, like too much, too much. We had yellow, some blue. Right, so with just a touch of my red, you see the difference? I'm gonna put that right there next to that one. But when I start bringing red into this, I'm neutralizing the green because red is green's complement. So the more I go to neutralize this, ready? I'm just going to keep going. We're starting to get into brown. And we can keep doing it until we start to swing back the other way, and it's going to start to have more red, and we get different browns that way. Okay. We could do the same thing with the burnt sienna. Again, burnt sienna works more as far as neutralizing each other, works better with the blue versus green to get like our dark, like our neutral tint. But you can also do the same where if you had, see, we're not limited to just mixing two colors. Nobody says we can only mix two colors. Why would we listen to that? So let's talk about red. She's a bully, so I gotta pull that out. And our yellow, right, to give us our nice orange. I just wanted more yellow. I had to wash my brush out. There we go. I'll bring more of that. All right, so here's our orange. This is already a little bit desaturated because we are using a yellow that actually could be more leaning towards red. It could be a warm yellow, but our red leans more blue. So because our red leans more blue, when we mix red and a yellow, so if we have a yellow that leans towards red and a red that leans towards blue, when we mix those together, we have yellow, red, red, blue. We have all three primary colors represented there, and we're going to get something that is more neutralized and more earth tone looking versus if we mix something that was a yellow, and I will show you what I'm talking about. And this is when color theory started making so much more sense to me. If we take, and I'm just going to grab my Daniel Smith palette because it's handy. And if I go into, say, Pyrrole Scarlet, that is definitely a red that leans yellow. So if I go to my Pyrrole Scarlet, this one, and I'm just going to get that on my brush, right? And I'm going to mix that, now that that's on my brush, I'm going to put that right here. And we're going to mix this with the same Hansa yellow that we have. Grabbing some of that Hansa yellow. And I'll put those two together. That is a much more vibrant orange because I mixed a red that leans towards yellow and a yellow that leans towards red. The only ones I have in that mix are yellow and red. So you're going to get much more vibrant reds that way. This works the same for greens. If I have a blue that leans towards yellow, so a warmer blue, excuse me, that is a cooler blue. If I have blue that leans towards yellow, that is a cooler blue. And a yellow that leans towards blue, that is a cool yellow. I'm going to get a much more vibrant green. So to see that in action, right, that is going to be your best blue that leans towards yellow or towards green. It's easier to think of it as a blue leaning towards green, maybe. If I grab phthalo blue, green shade, I'm just going to pop that right there. And this, what we were using, is more of a yellow that leans towards red. But if I grabbed a yellow that is very cool, like lemon yellow, and I mix a yellow that leans towards green or towards blue, and I mix those two together, just going to pop that in there. I know there's no way you can't see that. Look at how, like, almost electric that green looks. It is so bright, so clean. That is because my yellow leaned towards the green side and my blue leaned towards the green side, or blue leaned towards yellow. You know, when you think about the color wheel, the blue was going more towards the yellow and the yellow was going more towards the blue. When I do these where my yellow is maybe leaning more towards red and my blue is leaning more towards red, I have blue, red, and yellow. They're both leaning towards red. I get much more earthy greens, which is probably why I like the greens that these make so much, because I would definitely use any of these combinations in landscape painting. So there is my very much. Now see this, I did this orange was with a red and a yellow that both leaned towards red. If I wanted to neutralize this orange, I can just grab a blue and bring that in here. And ultramarine is a blue that leans red. I'm gonna see that. So it's gonna, from there, it just definitely desaturates it. You just gotta grab its complement, whatever color's across from it on the color wheel. The more you do, The more you know, the more you learn, the easier it is to mix your colors. So same with the red and the blue. If we were doing purple, our red and our blue are going to make this beautiful, we have no space. We get all that yellow out of there because we don't want yellow. Not yet anyways. Right, so we have red and blue. And we all learned red and blue make purple, right? So here we have like a beautiful purple. Hello. This beautiful purple. And I can make that purple lean more towards red. I can make the purple lean more towards blue. But now, let's say I have this purple and I want to desaturate it. What do? Well, my red was leaning blue, my blue was leaning red. I only have red and blue in this mix. I want to desaturate it. What do I have to do? I have to add yellow. To desaturate, I need all of the three represented. So I'm just going to grab a tiny bit of yellow here and pop that in. And look what starts to happen. It just starts to gray that right out. Just another touch of yellow. And I can make it warmer, right? So I get this like grayish color. I start to go towards brown when I get a little bit more with the yellow in there. I hope all of that helped. I hope you found this interesting. I knew that our time was going to be going on and we probably weren't going to get to paint something with these because it took so long. I would love to paint something with these, but being conscious of your time. We will paint with these soon. Maybe next week. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what we're doing next week. What do you think of this palette? Did the little mixing session like help you like click something that's, oh, that's why that makes sense now? I hope so. There's our colors. Oh, I can show you. Oh, we never did. Just come back and do the glaze of that. Let's take a peek at our other mixes that we've done real quick. See how those dried on our paper. Okay, so when we look at our salt, there was a lot of salt in this area, but look what it did with that ultramarine blue. And can you see the yellow? And then the red. Interesting, like look at that. Well, the salt is kind of spread out over here. I'm not feeling high concentration of salt in that center. I haven't brushed the salt off, so like if we brush some of that salt off, and I'd have to scrape some of it because it's really kind of stuck there. There's our blue salt coming out of the ultramarine. Look at what we get though. Beautiful. The blue and the red, really wet wash. Look at how they kind of separated out a bit. Same with the Potter's Pink and the blue. I'm really liking that one. Not so much in this one here. Not so much. Well, let's look at the ultramarine in a very wet wash. We definitely have a little bit more of the granulation showing up, but still not what I would think is heavily granulating. I mean, you can see the ultramarine coming to the surface here from that red. Sorry if my hands are a little shaky. Yeah, and look at how violet that looks right there. And that's in comparison to what we saw here. Like, there is more granulation, you can see in a very wet wash. You do get more, but even still, this is not heavy as far as I'm concerned. It's not heavily granulating. Potter's Pink absolutely stole the show when it comes to granulation. That was no surprise. It's exactly what I expected to see. If we look like down the line, look at all of our squares. Look at it's like looks like painting leather. Like if you're paint, I've said that so many times. Granulation is so your friend. If you were painting something that was supposed to be leather, just look at that. It just looks like the natural grain that leather would have in it. All of these, they have Potter's Pink in them. So pretty. I'm loving this one with a lot of ultramarine and a little bit of Potter's Pink. I would use that color. I would absolutely mix and use that color. And then the Potter's Pink with a little bit of ultramarine. Both of those. I love that. And again, like I said, that was Galaxy Violet. So the one other thing, so there you see them all, our swatches. I didn't lift. I'm going to lift these out real quick. I'm not going to make you watch me lift every single one. I'm just going to lift them and show you the result. I will show how I'm doing it with one of them, and then I will go through and do them. So I'm just going to take a different brush. This one is a little bit stiffer of a brush, and I just get that wet. And then what I do is I come through right where that line is, and I kind of just move that around and lift. Okay, that is how I lift. I'm going to go ahead and do these real fast. Let's see what they look like. There you go. I would definitely say that the ones that lift the cleanest would be the Ultramarine and the Potter's Pink. The Burnt Sienna, we can still see some of that, orangish, reddish color on the paper. It's not lifting all the way out. Would it lift enough for you to correct a mistake? Maybe. The red, definitely not. I mean, it's been a bully since the start. And you can also see the glazes on there. So definitely I would say transparent. Now this one here, the yellow, semi-transparent. We can see that yellow on top of that black. That black's not completely showing through. And they aren't saying staining, but I would say that's staining. That yellow is definitely in that paper. That's not coming up. So in my opinion, staining. I don't think that the Ultramarine, that's definitely transparent. Our Burnt Sienna, that still looks transparent. The Potter's Pink, I would agree, semi-opaque. I can see parts of it where it's covered the black line. If you want a closer look at that, I just look at the granulation though. Absolutely gorgeous. You can see areas where it's come over that black line and it's kind of sitting on top. Really liking the Michael Harding Potter's Pink. If it becomes a favorite, it's one I would pay the price for. And speaking of paying the price, I promised I would show you this before we left. Let's take a look. Come back to our screen again. I chose Ultramarine Blue because it's PB29, and I knew I could find PB29 in all three brands I talked about. So there it is from Michael Harding. Okay? I told you that this was priced most like Schminke. So let us take a look at Schminke. There you go. So actually, when it comes to Ultramarine, Schminke's a little more cost effective, but only slightly. Then let's look at, if we're talking about a paint that has honey, like Michael Harding, we would look at M. Graham. Again, M. Graham comes in much more affordable than the Michael Harding, at least here in the US. And then let's look at Daniel Smith. Now, Daniel Smith, I've recently switched to French Ultramarine just because it's a little more heavily granulating, and I like that. If you don't like a blue that is very heavy granulating, this might be the blue that's for you, the Michael Harding, or just go with Daniel Smith's regular Ultramarine. But even their regular Ultramarine has heavier granulation than what the Michael Harding does here. So I just leave you with that. That was current as of the time that I recorded this. You're seeing it all right there. Yeah, only you can choose what's right for you. If you absolutely love the paint and it brings you joy and you can afford to get it, I say go for it. Final opinion, I haven't painted with it yet. I mean, I've painted, but I haven't painted with it yet. So I definitely need to do a painting with this, and I am absolutely, I keep getting drawn to the Ultramarine. That Potter's Pink with just a touch of Ultramarine in it. That is my favorite. That is my absolute favorite. I love putting just a touch of Ultramarine into Potter's Pink, and that is gorgeous. But here with the Ultramarine, with the touch of Potter's Pink added to it versus the other way around, those two, like those, I'm loving this purple. I'm really digging this blue, this green that I made with the blue and the yellow. That orange right there, the yellow with the touch of red, I really like that orange. And the burnt sienna on its own, I think this is a beautiful burnt sienna, like that mass tone. First impressions, I like them. What do you think? Drop me a comment. Let me know. I can't wait to have a discussion with those of you watching on the replay in the comment section. Those of you here in the live chat, we've been chatting it up. If you have recently been gifted a membership here on the channel, let me just show you real quick. I've mentioned it a few times, but you can connect to our Discord server. And we have had a few people popping in. But if you're not sure how you do it, once you have Discord, let me just share my screen with you one more time. You're going to come over here to connections. See that right there? How do I get to this? When I look at my username, there's a little cogwheel beside that. Those are your user settings. So once I'm in my user settings, it's going to pop up screen. I come down, I click on connections. That shows me this window right here. And when you have connections up top, you would see YouTube up here, and you would want to click on that, and then it'll walk you through how to connect it. And then YouTube will automatically connect you to our Discord server. I hope that helps, because we would love to see you pop over there and join us. We've had some new people come in, and huge thank you for the gifted memberships. For those of you that have them, if you're enjoying what's happening over on Discord and you want to stick around, just go to the YouTube channel, click on memberships, and you can extend your membership and keep that fun going. I hope you will stick around and hang out with us. Let's see, today is the 16th. And that means that tomorrow, yes, tomorrow, all studio members, whether channel members or patrons in the studio tier, we have our studio hangout on Zoom. So I am really looking forward to hanging out with everybody over there. If that is something that you are interested in, you know, we hang out, we paint, we have fun, we talk. You get to see in the studio and everything I'm doing. And it's nothing like YouTube live stream, I've got to say. It's so much more fun. So if that is something that you are interested in and you just want to be able to hang out with other artists, definitely check that out. There's more information in the description for how you can connect either to Patreon and, of course, here on YouTube. You just want to click membership, and that's also linked below. And join us on the studio tier, and we do it every single month. Or if maybe you just want to do it once a quarter, you can pop on to the creator tier and you get that once a quarter. And the next one will be June for creators and above. And I do have a free trial going on right now. So if you want to check it out, there's a free trial over on Patreon at the studio level, and you can try it free for 7 days. That would include tomorrow. So maybe that's something you just want to check it out and see what it's all about. I invite you to come along. I do have that free trial available. And yeah, what do you think of these colors? Let me know. And I think that's all I needed to remember to say. Everybody else that is on from the community tiers and up, we have live chat tomorrow morning. That's not the same. That's like, it's texting. It is hanging out and texting and having fun while we have some coffee and check in and see how everybody's doing. But the studio sessions on Zoom are so much more fun. Correct me if I'm wrong. We'll probably see it coming up in the chat, in the live chat comments for those who have actually hung out and participated in one. It's fun. I think that's everything. Don't forget to check out the moderators, Tara and Joseph. Their links are in the description. They both have channels here on YouTube. And until next time, my friends, we will paint with these soon. If any of this interests you, I do have links in the description. It definitely helps fund the channel when you use those. It doesn't cost you anything, but it definitely provides a little something back to us. And that's how we keep things going around here. Keep the lights on, keep the paint mixing. Until next time, my friends, keep creating. I will see you in a video real soon. Bye, guys.